Hello buddy, Andy here again. Well, a sort of great story on the BBC News site, one of those sort of places I get lots of inspiration from, lots of great little things on. It's my home page as it happens on the internet. And they were talking about the 40th anniversary of a picture that sort of changed the world, changed our lives, I think, in some ways. In Christmas of 1968, Apollo 8 and the astronauts went up there towards the moon. They didn't actually land on the moon, but it's one of those sort of voyages that was as a sort of precursor, a sort of a trial run, I suppose, when they went sort of fairly close to, I think it was the first orbiting of the moon itself. But one of the things that came out of that, and something that was completely unplanned, was when they were doing one of their sort of circuits around the moon, the orbits, they came back around and they just happened to be looking out of the window and they saw the Earth rise above the top of the moon, and it was the first time that humans had ever seen that. It wasn't part of the planning of the mission. No one had really thought about this, although a British scientist about 20 years before had said the first time that we actually see that sort of picture, he predicted this, the first time it's Fred Hoyle, first time we will ever see that, it will change us forever. And so it turned out the astronauts just happened to look up, and I think it's Frank Borman, one of the astronauts on there, said, "Oh my God, look at that picture." And someone rushed off and got their camera, said, "We must get a picture of this," because once again it was completely unplanned, actually outside of what NASA had planned. And the cameras that they had on board were only for sort of certain purposes. So they took a couple of pictures. The first pictures that were ever taken, and I'll try and put them in a minute, were black and white ones. And then someone said, "No, we need to do something better." So they ran off and got some colour film, and they only took a couple of shots. And they're the ones, especially one of them in particular, were the ones that everybody remembers, the ones that have been reproduced time and time again. And if I can, I should put those photos in now. Well, there you go. I'm sure you recognise them. So I put the black and white one in as well, hopefully, and the colour one that was taken. But what happened when that particular picture came up, it sort of changed the world. It was something, everybody sort of saw the world literally in a different way. We had never seen it from that particular point before, and it made us realise just how sort of fragile and vulnerable we were. That little sort of pale blue dot, as Carl Sagan famously said, out there, hanging there in the mist, just there. There was nothing in the middle of nothingness, or supposedly nothingness, and it sort of spawned the whole environmental movement and the way that we think about the Earth now scientifically. Yes, I know that there was a bit of an environmental movement before that, but this is something that really kick-started it, something that really made us think everybody could see it, everybody could see that famous the colour photograph, and I remember it vividly, watching those sort of space missions, etc. And that a big thing at the time, and obviously it was that the next year, 1969, was the year that we actually landed on the moon, and I'm sure those pictures were beamed back properly when people realised the impact they would have. So that particular moment had a big impact, and it got me thinking about other things that have happened that can change things more or less in an instant. We can probably think of historical things, but I'm thinking of things that have happened recently. Over the last year, we've all seen the sort of credit crunch, and now it's something that's right across the world. It's affected us in Britain, it's in America, and literally Japan, Russia. It's that ripple effect of whatever started it, and we know there's all these different theories. It's changed our world once again. It's made us realise just how fragile the sort of global economy is, the Earth's economy. We need to think about things. We need to think about things in a different way. Maybe need to, like an environmental movement for capitalism, all the way that the money markets and that work. And it will make us re-evaluate that. We are quite vulnerable in that respect as well. So it's made us sort of take stock, made us realise with the jobs and everything, and we've all seen it with spending power, the way that interest rates have changed. Exchange rates over here in Britain have changed a lot over the last few months, whether it be against European currencies, the euro, or whether it be against the dollar. And it's changed us, and it's made a lot of people think, sort of step back. If they've still got their jobs, a lot of people have lost them. So it's another one of those sort of moments, in a fairly short space of time, where something's happened that's made us realise very, very quickly that things aren't quite what we thought they were. We thought we were going along quite nicely as we were in 1968, and then we saw that picture. It changed our lives in that respect, made us look at ourselves in a different way, and I think this credit crunch is going to do that as well. Something else that happened to me personally recently, I happened to mention that my father had been ill. He'd had a slight heart attack. So he's all right now. He's recovering slowly, slowly but surely, and he's weak, etc., etc. But he's getting there. But once again, it's another thing that makes you realise just how fragile life is. I mean, with the picture, as I said before, with the globe, the humanity, how fragile that whole existence is, but how fragile one person's existence is as well. In a split second, things can change very quickly. You're going along, although he's 91, you know he's in the latter part of his life, should we say, but it doesn't matter. Something can change things very, very quickly. So food for thought there. So one of those things, you see something and it sparks off little thoughts in my mind and starts connecting other events, maybe totally unconnected, but I think there's a common thread there, the sort of the fragility of life in lots of different ways, and the fragility of our way of life as well, whether it be a personal level, whether it be on a global level, or whether it be something a lot bigger than that and makes us think about things. So as per usual, I'd love to know what you think about this, whether you think I'm just thinking too deeply about these things, or whether you can see that sort of connection, whether you agree with it, and how we're going to get out of it, you know, with the credit crunch, etc. What's going to happen next? How are you going to change? Do we need to change? Can we just carry along? You know, 1968, we saw that picture, I'm sure, of the Earth sitting there, and I saw some people thought, well, yes, a nice picture, doesn't really mean anything to me. But ultimately, I think all these things mean something to us personally, or on a bigger scale as well. Anyway, thanks for your time. I'll speak to you again soon. Goodbye.